Hello, my name is Samar. I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those you want to call me, you can. This will be another palette throwback video, and the palette that I'm featuring today is my Sydney Grace. I was gonna say Fairy Tale Forest. This is the Mountain Trail palette from Sydney Grace. I bought this. This whole series is actually, you know what, let me pause to say I can't fake this. It is so hot. I literally turned my AC off right before hitting the record button and I'm already sweating again. Ugh, like I had to delay this video by like an hour just to cool off because I was sweating so much that I couldn't even put my primer on my face. Sorry if that's TMI, but yeah, if you see me sweating, just ignore it, please. I can't. But back to what I was saying, this series, if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't, I'll leave it linked in the description box and at the end of the video. But I started this series this year because I wanted to kind of showcase all of my oldest eyeshadow palettes, which were from the first year that I was buying makeup, which was mid-20, or that I was buying eyeshadow, because eyeshadow was like the very last thing that I ended up getting into, which is crazy because it's like my biggest collection. I guess collection's the right word, even though that sounds horrible. But anyway, I first started buying eyeshadow in mid 2021, so like then until mid 2022 is like the range of the palettes that I'm showcasing, and I did buy this mid 2022, which is crazy because I always think of this as one of the newer palettes in my collections, but it's literally one of the oldest. And I also realized that probably because of that reason, I always think that I get so much use on this palette because I always talk about it, but I have only used this palette really a handful of times. I just talk about it so much because I absolutely love the packaging, which was what grabbed my attention onto this palette in the first place. It is so beautiful. This is the sleeve, and then the actual cover just looks the exact same. But if you didn't know, which I'm not sure how you couldn't know, I'm originally from Minnesota. So even though I live in like a beach town in Southern California, I am originally more of like a lake mountain girl. And I just love like this type of scenery and this type of climate, and yeah, these colors, and I think it's so beautiful. So I'm just gonna let you admire the packaging, and then inside the palette it's also just as beautiful. It looks like this. This is my only Sydney Grace eyeshadow palette, and that is probably because well, for one, I feel like they always discontinue their dark versions of their palettes, which are usually what would work for me. But also this shade Backwoods just is kind of like a dead shade in the palette. So that kind of makes me nervous about buying from this brand again. I don't know why I'm like going so in depth about this. I'm gonna start my look. And I'm gonna start with my eyeshadow primer as always, but yeah, I'm just a little nervous that I'll get like more matte in their palettes that are not the greatest. Yeah, I just have been a little bit too nervous to buy from them again. And also that one other time I was gonna buy their palette, they ended up discontinuing the version that I was going to buy. So this is my one and only palette from Sydney Grace, and despite the dud shade, I do love it because of the color story and the packaging. I'm a sucker for packaging, which is why I still have my ColourPop Avatar The Last Airbender palette. But this was, if I'm remembering correctly, this was my first like green palette. My Mary Jane from Melt does have greens in it, but this was like my first green centered palette, which is why it'll always have a fond place in my heart. But for now, I think this shade called Be the Sunshine is like a bright yellow, but also has a green shift. So because I'm wearing bright colors and I have like a bright coral, maybe you can't tell, but I do have a bright coral blush on today, I think I'm gonna use the shade Be the Sunshine, and I don't know what else I'm gonna use for that. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started, and I'm gonna go into the shade, the dead shade Backwoods. Yeah, this is a very powdery palette. Like I already got a bunch of kick up. So I don't know, I didn't set my eyeshadow primer, maybe I should have. But yeah, I'm just gonna put this all over my lid and probably just do like a normal eyeshadow look that I always do, like transition crease and then shimmer. And the reason that I feel like this is a dead shade is because it does get quite patchy on me. Even when I use something to set my eyeshadow primer. I thought I just saw a spider. So I'm gonna try to be really, really careful with this eye. I don't know why I'm using the mirror that's like below me when I literally have a mirror in this palette. So far that's okay. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I like the shade of this, or like the shade of this shade, I don't really know. It's like a murky, kind of gross looking green brown, and I really like that. I just really struggle with the shade, and this is like, this would have been my most used shade in this palette, because I always say that like I always go for like the mid-tone like neutral shades in palettes first. It's like when I pan a palette, that's always the shade that has pan first. But this one is just very, very finicky, and I have to be extra, extra careful. Spend a lot of time like even trying to like blend this out evenly. I already took it up very, very far. So now I kind of have to unfortunately balance out the other eye and take this one up higher. And let me like dab the sweat off of my face. It is so incredibly hot. Like even last night, and it's only July. Like I feel like usually, even though the temperature is not super hot, I feel like I can't escape the heat, and that usually doesn't even happen until like August. But last night I turned my AC on, which is the first time I had to turn it on at night, because usually by like nighttime it'll be at least cool enough where I can leave my window open and cool down my room that way. But I had to turn the AC on last night, and I set it on a timer. I think just to like blend out the edges a little bit more, to kind of tone it down a little bit. I'm gonna use the shade Dirt Road, but I did set my AC to go off in 1 hour, and then it turned off and everything was okay, so I just went to sleep. And then I woke up in the middle, or like very, very early this morning, maybe like 5 a.m, and my AC was still on. So I don't know like if it, like what happened. Most likely I probably woke up in the middle of the night and then turned it back on and like just forgot about it because I was still half asleep. But I do not remember turning it back on. But I think that's just literally how hot it was that I had to wake up in the middle of the night and turn my AC back on. And the thing was, even though my AC was running for hours, my room was still not cold. That's how hot it is. Okie dokie. I originally was gonna put something darker in my outer corner, but I feel like I built up that first backwood shade enough where it is deep enough on its own, at least for now. So I'm gonna use my glitter primer. I hope everyone is doing okay. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, including the United States where I am, but I hope everyone's doing all right. Life, I feel like, oh, and I'm using the shade Be the Sunshine. I'm just gonna put that all over and see what it looks like. But yeah, I feel like my life also, my little tiny corner of the world, is that what DW says? I feel like it is something like that. Oh, she says slice of the internet. My little slice of the world is very crazy and chaotic and not doing very well. I can't even talk. But I feel like I also can't complain too much, because I know that people in other parts of the world have it so much worse. So I'm just trying to like be grateful for what I do have, but it does feel really like a struggle, like not to get too much into serious talks, but I feel like especially when you have a history of like depression and anxiety, at least for me, it makes dealing with things so incredibly difficult, which is obvious. But I feel like even when minor, or not minor things, but when like things that like I should be able to deal with by now, because I've gone through kind of these like horrible things so many times, like no matter what, it still gets to me, because that's just like how my brain works. And I have like 10 different things coming at me from all sides right now. So it's just really hard. So I'm just trying to like, I'm trying to do my life like business as usual. Still trying to post as many videos as I can, because that usually gives me like a half hour of the day to be like normal and get my mind off of things, but it is very, very difficult behind the scenes. I don't know, I just felt like I had to say that and get that thought off my chest. But now I'm done with the metallic Be the Sunshine. I don't know if you can tell, like it kind of just looks bright, bright yellow, which is a little bit jarring, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not used to having something like this just all over my eyes. But there is like a tiny bit of a green shift in there. And I don't know, I think I've been wearing a lot of like yellow and gold on my eyes lately because I feel like this is the time to do it. Bright everything today, like my bright blush. I do want to put something on my lower lash line though. I think, okay, I'm gonna take, let me try to wipe it off as best I can. I'm gonna take, the only like skinny brush I have right now is this liner brush. And I'm gonna put this shade called To Earth, just like on the outer part of my lower lash line, because I feel it, I literally almost just stuck that in my eyeball. Let me use this mirror. I feel like this is too dark to put on the inner part of my lower lash line, but I just want something there. And I want to use this palette because I literally only use 3 shades. I do really like this palette. I just definitely don't get enough use out of it, but at the same time I don't want to declutter it. Partly because of the packaging, but also because I do really love the tones in here, but I just feel like sometimes I don't want to have to put in the effort to use that backwoods shade. So, and then also I have my Sigma Earthy palette, which has very, very similar tones in it, other than the like this bright yellow metallic that I put on my eyes. Like it has almost all of the same shades. So I feel like whenever I'm thinking to do a look like this, or like that I could get out of this Sydney Grace palette, I usually just reach for that one instead. So I'm gonna add some eyeliner and mascara and probably add some more lip gloss, and then I'll be right back. This is my finished look with the Sydney Grace Mountain Trail palette. I do like this palette. I mean, the one matte dud shade is a little disappointing, and the non-matte shades are not shimmers, they're just metallics, but they do go on really well. And I just have to use this palette more often. So if you have a palette in your collection that is getting older, especially if it's like bright and fun or just good for the season, you should grab it and use it. But that's all I have for this video. Hopefully I had the pictures or the picture on the screen. And yeah, and I will see you in my next video. It's just too hot to think, so I'm probably making no sense, but yeah, I will see you in my next video. Hopefully it's a little bit better and less hot, but until then, I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.